Hi everyone. So I made my last video and there was a couple of issues with it. I realized it was a little bit quieter and I went through my notes when I was doing VMD model animation imports into Unity for various purposes, and I realized that I actually had gotten a few things wrong. Since we're using these as avatars, there's a few things that we need to change, and I worked out the bone hierarchies as well. But very quickly, I'm going to go over it again just so this can be a complete video. This isn't going to take long at all. And it's important to note here that MMD models do have a license from Krypton Future Media unless they're fully derivative, but you can use them, or at least how they're built, as a template for creating models completely on your own. If you're going to bring somebody's stuff in, you should attribute the original works, and if you want, even get permission. What I think that most of these folks don't understand in Japan is that VRChat is, it may be a commercial product, but it's free, and the avatars that are uploaded, there is no control over the controllers of the game, or the creators of the game, over that kind of thing. So anyway, let's jump right into this. It's pretty easy. So I've got some MMD chat avatar tools here. You're gonna need the Unity 5.6.3 P1. You need your VRChat SDK. You want to grab MMD for Mechanim Beta, the latest version from stereoarts.jp. The only reason why we use this tool is because it provides a nice front end for dealing with Mechanim, which in Japan is the controller for avatars. In Unity, that's just how it's called. And it's used, it just gives you a nice front end for PMX to FBX, which is a free and available tool for converting PMX and PMD models into Autodesk FBX files. And that's it. You can use this tool outside of MMD for Mechanim, and no one can stop you. But this is a great way to convert models in, but you have to do two things. You have to create two Unity tools, because MMD for Mechanim specifically targets VRChat and prevents you from taking it out. So I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe they'll eventually understand, but whatever. So you're going to grab your MMD for Mechanim, and you're going to go to Assets, Import Package, Custom Package, and bring that into the system. Then you're going to right-click on your Assets directory, and you're going to click Show and Explore. Then you're going to drag in your Miku Miku Dance zip or raw or whatever you have extracted. Make sure you have your PMX file and your materials and shaders and whatnot. So that's got to be in there. You're going to bring that into your assets folder, and when you do that, you're going to see it appear in here. It's going to do some importing stuff, and you're going to see it appear in here. So we're going to click on this model. We're going to accept this. I'm using the Tita's base model, which he freely gives to everyone so that they can make their own modifications and create their own Miku Miku Dance. So you're going to accept the license to that. You're not going to use it for any commercial purposes. What they mean is don't use it in a game and charge for the game, not for, sharing and making animations. Okay, so we're going to click on this. Now we're going to go to advanced mode, because this won't be in advanced mode to start. We're going to click on advanced mode. We're going to click advanced. We are going to click on IK and expand it. We're going to disable IK. We don't want it. We're going to disable all this IK stuff. We are going to have bone for Mechanim turned on, and we're just going to have arm bone for Mechanim. We don't need anything else, just arm bone for Mechanim, because some of the arm bones can be a little bit weird inside the translation here. Also, your mileage may vary with this. It really does depend on the base mesh, but some things can change here. So we do want bone rename, we do want morph rename, and we do want material rename. You can uncheck everything else in here. This actually puts dots in front of it just so you can easily find things you don't need, but you actually don't need this. You don't need them really. I'm going to show you another way to fix things. So bone morph you do want, create skeleton you do want, add motion name extension VMD. This is useful if you're going to bring in animations from Miku Miku Dance or animations you've made yourself in Miku Miku Dance. So you can leave that on. We don't want null bones. We don't want null bone animations. We can split the mesh, but it's not good for VRChat, so we won't. Rotation order to XYZ, we can leave that on. Enable FBX texture, we actually don't want that. It is one quick way, by the way, though, to bring things in. It does increase your vertices, though, which isn't a good thing. So support VMD IK disabled. Yes, yes. We also want to turn on animation key reduction, which should be on by default, but animation null animation, you want that on. Animation root transform, this is key to getting the IK right. You want that on as well. You don't need morph opie. That's boob physics. Bullet physics, we want this off because we're not using bullet physics. And that's it. So these settings here are the settings we actually want. And I messed up a little bit on the last video, but this is exactly what we want. So hit apply, hit process. This will create an FBX file. This FBX file can now be taken out of Unity and used elsewhere. We do not want MMD for mechanism shaders or anything like that, or because they also have some other tools in here, and it's cool if you're doing stuff in Unity and you want to like make MMD animations and Vocaloid stuff. Make MMD music videos, which is really what all this exists for. But we also want to use it for VRChat. So we're going to take this and we're going to right-click our newly created FBX file here. We're going to right-click it and we're going to click Export Package. We are going to uncheck MMD for mechanism shaders here at the top. We're going to scroll down. Everything else is fine. We're going to hit Export. I'm going to overwrite the same copy that I just had here, so just so you guys can see that I'm doing this fresh, just so you can see that it actually works. So there's all of this, and we've got a Miku base now. Obviously, you wouldn't use this in the game. This is a base mesh. This is Tita's, includes gestures and facial blends and morphs, right? So we're going to close Unity, and we're going to open a new copy of Unity. So we've now got our new copy of Unity here, open. And I'm going to go to Assets, Import Package, Custom Package. So this is, Unity, same version. We're just creating a new Unity project file. And we're going to import our Miku base again. We're going to include all the materials here. So that all these are going to be here. This will take a second or two. Then we're going to open up our Miku base, and you'll see that she's purple. The reason why she's purple is because we didn't include MMD for mechanism special shaders, and that's fine, because what we're going to do is we're going to go into our materials folder, and we're going to hit Control A on all the materials, and this is going to give us the list of shaders. So on the top right, we're going to hit here, and we're going to hit Cubed Paradox Flat Lit Tune. Now, Cubed Paradox shaders are really easy to get in here too. You can get them from VRChat.club. And you go to Game Object, or you go to Assets, Import Package, Custom Package, and I've got it here. You've got Cubes Unity shaders. Now, actually, I'm sorry, I misspoke. We're not actually importing it that way. You would import it by clicking on your Show and Explorer and then bring it into your Assets directory. Then you can use it. You can also use the regular shaders in Unity. So if you Control A on this, and we're going to click Standard, and we're going to click Cutout because we want transparency. Then we're going to go scroll down to the bottom here. We may or may not want some of this, but we don't really need it. You need to set your alpha cutoff. So actually, just let me resize this window for you. So you need to set your alpha cutoff to be something reasonable, because it will allow you to pick where the transparency starts in the texture material mesh. So you've got your alpha cutoff. I usually pick 0.05. That is usually the perfect size. So now we've chosen where the alpha is. Now on almost every MMD PMX or PMD file, these textures, a few of them are meant to be set as fade. So I'm going to unclick all of these now that I can see them, and we're going to go to body 3. Usually anything with high, that means highlight. Anything that isn't 0, 0 for the face. So 0, 1 is okay. QB obviously as well. Lens is the lens of her eyes. And now these ones are meant to be fade. So we're going to choose render mode fade. And you'll actually see how right this is in a moment. Mainly because of this one. So the lens, or the body 03 one, this has a glowy fade on it, and the lens, which is her eyes, also glowy fade, right? So these things will look proper now that they have fade on them. So we've done the materials, and if we go back here, you'll see that she's actually there now, okay, and isn't purple. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our model, we're going to hit rig, so I still haven't imported it into the scene yet. We're going to hit rig, we're going to go humanoid, and hit apply. This is the most important part, is making sure you get this right. Configure, we're going to save our scene, and then scroll up here. Now you'll notice her leg bones aren't mapped properly. So here's what we got to do. We got to make a few quick changes. Waist is going to stay waist. There is hip master here. We're not going to use it. Just waist. You might have gurubu, which is the groove bone. You can also use gurubu sometimes, but to get the spinal hierarchy right, you should use waist if it exists. On all of Tita's base meshes, or things that are derivatives of Tita's base mesh, it'll work great. So waist is fine. Then you've got torso 2. That's also fine. Left shoulder, left arm twist. We're not using that, so we need to use left elbow. So that's actually mapped here already, which is good. And left wrist, right shoulder, right arm, right elbow, right wrist. Upper leg is Koshi Yashihidari, which is not correct. We want left hip. You might want to use left hip D, but we're gonna use left hip. So you've got hip master here. This is what the one that is a derivative of waist. The D ones are alternates, but we don't need that. So hip master, we can use either of these. Sometimes they adjust how you rotate when you come down. Your mileage may vary. Try one, and if it doesn't work as good, try the other. So left hip, left knee, left foot, and we're going to clear out the toe bone, because otherwise you'll be walking around on your tiptoes all the time. Right hip, right knee, right foot, no toes, like that. Then we're going to go to head. We are going to unbind the jawbone, because we're not going to use that, and we're going to do something else instead. Left eye, right eye, Hidimoto. This is actually the shine of her eyes, not her eyes. So we're going to pick left eye. And then right eye, obviously. Like that. So now we've got left eye, right eye, no jaw blend, body is correct, everything looks nice and stacked. Hit apply. Hit done. Now you can bring her into the scene. And what you're going to do is you're going to open up root, and you're going to reorder the bones. So we're going to find root, master, center, groove bone, waist, hip master, left hip. Remember, we use these: right knee, left foot, left toe. This is how you want it to look. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to center, groove bone, and we're going to impact torso, torso 2, left breast. These are fine. Left shoulder. So we're going to make this the first one, and this does not break. Make sure it's not breaking. It'll warn you if it's going to break your prefab. You just need to make sure these are in order. So left shoulder, right shoulder. Okay, they just have to be right here, like that. This is how you get the inverse kinematics on your arms to work. If you drag these out of this hierarchy, it doesn't matter where they are in here. This order is fine. They're the first and second child, and then neck as well. But if you drag them out of the hierarchy, you'll break the prefab and it won't work in VRChat. So you want torso, torso 2, neck. Then you want head, left eye, right eye. Okay. You can put tongue here if you want. And then if you extend head, you've got left shoulder, right shoulder. Now this is the more important one here. Left arm, left elbow needs to come next. Right arm, left elbow needs to come next. And then you see all the twist bones, these weird twist bones that they use. Right wrist, left wrist. There you go. So you don't need either, or you don't need anything else after that. This is all your hand now. Right wrist, this is your hand. Now this is totally stacked and perfect. So the inverse kinematics, if you have a Vive, will work perfectly, which is great, and I do, so that matters. Okay, so now we've done all that. Now is a good time to add the VRChat SDK and make sure everything's going to work. So Miku base. First of all, make sure that you didn't accidentally import MMD for Mechanim into the new one, because otherwise you won't have all your stuff here. If you do, you did it wrong. Try again. So add component, VRC avatar descriptor. Then we're going to set her height. So this one is kind of short. I know for this model always it's 1.43 for the VRChat eyes. Well, yeah, 4.3 is okay. I guess you go a little lower. If this ball is too high, your hands will stick up in the air, and you don't want that. So 1.4, that's what I said last time, right? So we want 0.14 probably for your eyes. 4.2. 4.2. Yeah, okay. So 0.14, this is how far in front of your face it is. If you have hair, it might, and you put physics on the hair, it might fly in front of this thing, which wouldn't be good. But that's usually okay. You can adjust this in and out a little bit if you want. Now, let's check and see if it's going to work right off the bat. So we'll just go straight down to like settings and log in, and then build control panel. Look at that. So now the arms are fine. The angle between the pelvis and thigh bone should be 180 degrees. Ignore this. Because we're using the spinal hierarchy that I've set up here, it will work perfectly because it was already set up for inverse kinematics, because that's how Miku Miku Dance works, and this will be perfect. This is a funny one, and it is a good warning because it does work for most things. If your hip bones are above your waist, usually your hips will stick out forward in a funny way, but not in the way that this bone is weighted in the tool here. Just the direction of it's kind of funny, but it works beautifully, and you can double check that if you want in the muscles section. I'm going to switch this over now also. So if you did end up getting cube shaders, we're going to go over here. We're going to go to Cube Paradox, Flat Lit Tune, same thing. We want to uncheck the cheek and highlights, the secondary faces, and the lens, as well as this body, not this body. And we want to go outline mode tinted. I like to set it to 0.1 generally. The thicker you go, the more it looks like a cartoon. And then you want up here, I guess cheek, I guess face 01 probably needs to stay rendering mode cut out. Okay. So we're going to check, and now we're going to change the we're going to change these to change the rest of these to fade. These are render mode cutout, I'm sorry. So we're going to change the ones that I didn't select here to fade. So body 03, cheek, eye highlights, face, cube, sorry, lens. These ones are going to be now fade. And you'll see how right that looks in a second here. See that? This is why you use fade here. So lens, if I was not using fade, if I used cutout, it would be really odd looking. But we're going to use fade. So we take all of these now. Now we've got these textures, and we're going to choose to not add a tint. I think I already did this. So I'm very tired, guys. Yeah, there we go. So you've got your tints, and then all you have to do here is tinted 0.1, and that gives it a nice anime look. So the last step here is to do a few other things. I mean, there's a million things you can do, but you can follow other tutorials on how to do that. But the last thing is the visemes. This is to get the facial blends working. Now on every Miku Miku Dance base, whether it's PDXs or Tada's or whoever's, you're gonna use viseme blend shape. And then if you click down on U character here, this is the list of all the different things that the face can do. So you've got your A2 or your A2, and these are all meant to sing along automatically to Miku Miku Dance, Vocaloid sound banks, which is why they have them. And that's why these are so darn good in VRChat, because your voice will match your face. So let's go to our Miku base here, and we're going to go to face mesh, and we're going to drag in our U character, and then we're going to pick a viseme for every sound. So U is O, O is O2 or A2 or A2. Your is E. You can also use E for E. although more accurately, it's actually I. Is a. Can be rect or wa. N is N. Your sound can also be, you can use an A or an I find works well for that. Your ch, same thing. K, same thing. You can also use triangle here. This is actually sad face. D is your hard D. Again, you can use wa or rect. Also can be this. Your f sound can be I or U. Seems pretty close. Your p is going to be an O, and silence. So silence can be whatever you want. I usually use grinning. That's a good one. You can change this to whatever you want. If you use any of these, it changes what your default facial look is going to be. All of these change the look of the face, and you can see what they all are again by going to U character and looking. So if I zoom in here, now you can use these for animations and stuff too, of course. So if I go down here, we can do something like hato, which gives you hard eyes, as you can see. Or you can do something like worry, gives you a worried face. These are all like mesh blends that all happen on the face here. Miyari Hidari, that gives you the it's these additional eye shapes that are actually hidden away here. You can't actually see this very well because they're actually behind it. So I would have to change the eyes out. So if I go to Jito eyes, for example, see, and then there's Kiri, and all of these change, right? Hachi eyes. So this actually rotates the eyes out. So so you've probably seen avatars in VRChat where they've got stuff in their head. Well, that's what this is. So this allows you to take your eyes and swap them out. You usually want to jump to that in one frame, right? You've also got there's a few others in here anyway. So you can play with this, have fun, and figure out what you want to do. Very smiley. See, like super smiley face. Grinning is like this. See, so I usually use grin. Anyway, so that's your facial blends, and you can use these to animate, replace your hand gestures, whatever you want. So there's one last thing. Miku Miku Dance avatars tend to be, depending on how they're brought in, and there is a way to decimate from MMD for Mechanim, but it's much easier to use Mantis LOD editor. I mentioned this in my last video, so I've already got it imported in here. So Mantis LOD editor online. It's really easy to get in. It's mantis-online.com, I believe. And then you're going to click Upload Mesh Data. So this will upload the mesh for the whole character here. Now, I'm doing this on root U character. Actually, you should probably do it on the whole thing. So click Miku Base, add component, Mantis. You want to remove this when you're done. So let's just remove it from that component here. And we're going to go back to Miku Base. And we're going to go to Mantis LOD editor, upload mesh data. Sorry, I'm going to do this one more time. And we're going to protect boundaries, and we're going to turn off protect boundaries. Sorry, we're going to more details and protect symmetry, and we're going to change this. Now this one would be fine, but most of them aren't going to be. So you can try 50. Usually that works pretty good. And as you can see here, there's very little changes to the mesh. I'm taking a peek in my face here to make sure that the facial meshes are good, and they all look fine to me. She has glasses you can pull out, all kinds of cool stuff. So there you go. So that's going to put the facial mesh, or that's going to put a mesh here. So now I'm down to 8,754, which is amazing. So I'm going to hit Save Current Mesh. Okay, and I'm going to save my mesh in the same folder as my current MMD avatar. You can call this whatever you want, but this is quality 50, so I've dropped it by half. So there's half as many vertices now on this, and it will upload nicely. So we see where it says U character here. So you've got to click on the one in your scene. So Miku Base, U character. This is the mesh, base mesh. And then we're going to drag this here, U character, into here. That's going to replace the scene's version of this mesh with my decimated version of the mesh. Now we can go ahead and put it into VRChat. Obviously, it needs to remove Mantis LOD. So again, we'll hit remove component, VRChat. Show build control panel. Now the only thing it's complaining about is the angle between the pelvis and thigh bones, and as I've said before, that doesn't matter because of the layout of this avatar. Anyway, have fun. This should work perfectly. And if you want to check out Tupper's tutorials and other things on doing facial modes and blinking, you can move your eyes around and do all the things you see in the really detailed avatars, except you can make it your own. Now, I really recommend that you take a base mesh like this and do an edit on your own inside something like Metaseq or PMX editor. Credit the original artists. I like to put a little pin on my character or something like that, some sort of indication that that's where it came from. You can edit the textures, the materials files here, the TQA, all these. You can edit these in Paint or Photoshop. You've got your spherical texture meshes that we're not using right now, and then all your materials, right? So you can do as much as you want with this or as little as you want with this, but I highly recommend that you don't just rip a model from somewhere, because you're way cooler if you do it yourself. All the animation too that you can do with these, it's just there just isn't really any comparison to anything else that's out there, and the look of these things is I think better than hyper realistic models, because then you get a little bit of uncanny valley, but you get it a lot less with these. Anyway, so that's it. Have fun.